Hello, today I'll be talking about 10 metal albums that will be turning 30 years old this year. But yeah, this is not a top 10. These are just 10 albums that I enjoy that are again turning 30 years old. And this will be in no particular order. But yeah, there are definitely many albums you could choose from when it comes to this topic. But I selected these 10 albums, and the first album I want to talk about is Acid Bath with When the Kite String Pops. So yeah, maybe you can maybe say kind of a deep cut in the world of metal in 1994. Maybe not as big as some of the other albums that I'll talk about in this video, but I really dig this album. I'd maybe say maybe one of the best metal albums of 1994. But yeah, this is a band that didn't last very long. Unfortunately, they would go on to only drop 2 albums, and of the 2 albums, I probably like this one more, but I do like the other album though. But yeah, with Acid Bath, if you were to describe their sound, you could maybe say sludge. You can maybe make an argument about there being some doom elements in there, but you also do have your more faster moments, especially in certain songs like Jezebel, for example. But yeah, definitely one of those bands that you could maybe say has a unique sound to them. I mean, they are one of those bands, I'd say, where you hear a snippet of their song, you immediately know that it's them. You immediately know that it's Acid Bath. But yeah, also I do like Dax's vocals on this album too. You get your growls, and you also get your clean vocals, and also you get some pretty killer riffs on this album too, such as in songs like God Machine and Jezebel. But if I were to pick favorites on here, The Blue, Tranquilized, Scream of the Butterfly, Jezebel, definitely one of my favorite Acid Bath songs. God Machine is maybe another favorite of mine on the album too. All around, a really great album. And of course, if you haven't heard it and you like 90s metal, of course, definitely check it out. The next album I want to talk about is Cro Conformity with their album Deliverance, which definitely saw them get some commercial success with songs like Albatross and Clean My Wounds. Clean My Wounds maybe being their biggest one, their biggest single. But I think this album does also have some pretty good deep cuts like 7 Days and Broken Man. Broken Man, that's probably one of my favorite Corrosion of Conformity songs. And Heaven's Not Overflowing, I think, is one of the band's best album openers. But yeah, this band is led by Pepper Keenan, and yeah, I really like his voice a lot. Definitely, you can maybe say also has a unique voice too. If you hear a snippet of his voice, you immediately know that it's Pepper. But yes, some of my favorites on here: Heaven's Not Overflowing, Albatross, Clean My Wounds, of course, Broken Man. I really like the title track too. Shelter is also pretty good. A bit on the more softer side. I really like that. Again, really like that one. But you do also get some solid riff work, 7 Days, such as in 7 Days and Heaven's Not Overflowing. But yeah, definitely one of the band's best, I'd say, and I'm sure many fans would agree with me on that. I know some people point to this one as their best. For me, Blind is actually my favorite, but this album would be in definitely very close second. But yeah, Corrosion Conformity were definitely really awesome throughout the 90s, and of course, I think they did some pretty good stuff after the 90s too. And I do know that they were around in the 80s too, but they also had a fairly different sound in the 80s, a bit more crossover, if I'm thinking of the right term. But I'm personally not too big on Eye for an Eye. Besides a couple songs, that album just isn't really for me. I do like Animosity though, that's a pretty good album. And I do like Mr. Bungle's cover of Lost for Words too. And of course, if you haven't heard it, definitely check it out, solid cover. But yeah, Deliverance, again, really great album. And now we're going to be moving to the world of progressive metal with Awake by Dream Theater. And this is maybe my favorite Dream Theater album. I know some people might point to Images and Words, but nowadays, Images and Words might be my second favorite. But yeah, Awake probably my favorite. I mean, with this album, they go a bit darker, also a bit heavier too, especially in certain songs, but I absolutely love this album. I mean, definitely one of the band's best in my opinion. So many great songs like 6 O'Clock, which I think is one of the band's best album openers, Caught in a Web, which is definitely another highlight for me on the album. It was really cool to see them perform that song live when I saw them last year. Innocence Faded, showing that James does have a great voice, great singing voice. Same with the song Silent Man. Also have the single on here, Lie, which, when it comes to the Dream Theater singles, that's probably one of my favorites. I really like that song a lot. Definitely really dig the solo, probably one of my favorite solos on the album. And of course, you do get some great riff work from John Petrucci. The Mirror being an example for me when it comes to that. You also have the epic Scarred, which has grown to be probably one of my favorites on here, especially in the second half. And yeah, all around, really great album. Definitely one of my favorite albums of 1994 in general, to be honest. Again, really awesome album. But now we're moving to the debut album from Machine Head, Burn My Eyes. Now, when it comes to picking a favorite Machine Head album, people often choose either this album or The Blackening. I actually lean towards this one. I mean, don't get me wrong, The Blackening is definitely really awesome, probably one of the best metal albums of the 2000s, but if I were to pick my personal favorite Machine Head album, it would be this one. I mean, this is an album that I'd say you can probably listen to from front to back. I mean, there isn't really any songs on here that I would say is a straight up skip or also bad. I mean, not a single weak, not a single bad song on here. Sure, with any album, there are songs that are stronger or more interesting than others, of course, depending on the person. But yeah, I definitely have some of the band's best work on here, like, of course, Davidian, which is one of their more iconic tracks. Old is probably one of my favorite Machine Head songs. You also have the song Block, which I think is one of the band's most underrated songs, and also one of my favorite album closes from the band, too. But yeah, definitely one of my favorites on the album. A Nation on Fire, I really dig the riff work in that song. Same with what they're doing riff-wise, and 1,000 Lies, another really great song. But you really can't go wrong with any of the songs on here, and yeah, definitely easily one of Machine Head's best. But yeah, a year or two ago, I did get to see Machine Head live, and I got to meet Rob Flynn, and yeah, it was definitely really awesome to meet Machine Head around that time, a year or two ago again. But yeah, Burn My Eyes, really great album. But now we're moving to one of the big four, Megadeth with Euthanasia. So something you notice with this album is that it's a bit more radio friendly, a bit more melodic compared to their previous work, especially albums like Rust in Peace or Killing Is My Business. But yeah, again, this album's a bit more radio friendly, but also again a bit more melodic. But I personally really dig this album, actually. There's some strong songs on here, like Train of Consequences, which when it comes to this lineup, I think it's one of their best singles. Atoll the Moon, which is the ballad on here. Definitely really great ballad, definitely one of my favorites on here, I'd say. You do also get some pretty good deep cuts, like Elysian Fields, which is, when it comes to 90s Megadeth, probably one of my favorites. Euthanasia, the title track, another favorite of mine on the album. Reckoning Day is another really great song. A strong way to open up the album, but yeah. All around, definitely a great Megadeth album in my opinion. I don't know if it's one of my favorites. If it's not one of my favorites, it may be more closer to the middle, but either way, again, great album. Now we're moving to a side project from Max Cavalera. Fairly short-lived though, but that band is Nailbomb with their album Point Blank. Again, if you're a Max Cavalera fan, if you're a Sepultura fan, Soulfly fan, and you somehow haven't heard this, please check it out. Really great stuff. This album is really raw, heavy, intense, and you get your mix. You also have that industrial metal element with this album, which I think is pretty interesting. This album to me is you can maybe say kind of a mix between Chaos AD and industrial metal, pretty much. But yeah, this album's definitely awesome. Again, if you haven't heard it, definitely check it out. But some of my favorites, Wasting Away. I mean, that song just kicks so much ass. And when I saw Soulfly live last year, they did play that song, and it was awesome. I mean, Wasting Away, such a killer song. I mean, if you like speed, or if even you like thrash, please check out that song especially. But some of my other favorites on here: 24 Hour Bullshit, World of Shades. World of Shit is another favorite of mine on the album. Cockroaches is also really good. The album closer, Sick Life, another favorite of mine on the album. But yeah, this album definitely, honestly, maybe one of my favorite. Yeah, probably one of my favorite metal albums of 1994. Really good stuff. But now we're moving to some old school death metal with Obituary with their album World Demise. So yeah, this is probably my second favorite Obituary album. Cause of Death, of course, would be number one, and then I know that album is number one for many people, for many fans. And I know some people would point to Slowly the Mariah as their favorite too, but for me, I would go with Cause of Death. But this album would probably be my second favorite. I mean, yeah, Don't Care, I think, is one of the band's best album openers. I really like that song, probably one of my favorite Obituary songs. But I think you definitely get your share of fairly overlooked songs on here, like what's the name of that song? Killers Found, or yeah, it's not on this version of the album. I believe it's a bonus track. You'll see it on iTunes. I don't know why I'm blanking out on the name, but either way, that's probably one of my favorites on the album. If you know what song I'm talking about, then you know. But some of my other favorites, Burned In, Redefine is definitely a song that's grown to be one of my favorites on the album too. You could make the argument that songs do kind of blend together a little bit in the album, especially when you move towards the middle, towards the end of the album. But I don't know. I personally really dig this album a lot. I think it is one of Obituary's best. And I think a tad kind of underrated. Not talked about as much as some of their other albums like The Incomplete or, of course, Cause of Death, but I personally really dig World Demise. But the next album we'll be talking about is Far Beyond Driven by Pantera. I mean, you can't talk about metal in 1994 without talking about this album. I mean, around this time in Pantera's discography, the band was still on fire, still having plenty of success, and for the longest time, this album was actually my favorite from them. But nowadays, Vulgar is probably my favorite. But this album and Cowboys would probably fight for being my second favorite Pantera album. But yeah, with this album, they try to go even heavier than Vulgar, and yeah, they certainly did. I mean, so many great songs on here: Strength Beyond Strength, Becoming. I do like the singles on here, of course, 5 Minutes Alone and I'm Broken. Use My Third Arm, I think, is one of the band's most underrated songs. I really like that song a lot. I do also like their cover of Planet Caravan. I do like the original too from Black Sabbath, but Pantera, again, their cover I think is also pretty good. I do like Phil's vocals in that cover especially. Shedding Skin, I really like Dime's riff work in that song especially. But yeah, Far Beyond Driven, definitely one of the best metal albums of 1994. And now we're moving to Prong with arguably their most commercially successful album, Cleansing. It does have their biggest song, Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck. And yeah, definitely one of the best songs on here. But you have other really great songs on here like Another Worldly Device, Whose Fist Is This Anyway? They pick up the pace a little bit more in the song Cut Rate, which is another favorite of mine on the album. Broken Peace is also really good. You could say that the first half is maybe stronger than the second half. The second half is definitely, at least to me, not as strong. But the second half, I think, is also solid, though. I do like, of course, the album closer, Test. And I do like Home Rule, too. But, yeah, definitely one of Prong's best. Probably my favorite. But, yeah, definitely really great stuff. But now we're moving to the final album for this video, Slayer, Divine Intervention. Not the band's best, not one of the best, but I personally do enjoy this album. Some really good songs on here like Killing Fields, Ditto Head, which shows that they still have the thrash in them, Serenity and Murder, which is also another highlight for me on the album, and maybe the biggest song on here. I know it was a single, but maybe the most well-known. I could be wrong, but either way, great song. 213 is another highlight on the album for me too. I also do enjoy Fictional Reality, kind of an overlooked song by the band, but yeah, solid album from Slayer. Again, not their best, but still solid in my opinion. But yeah, those are 10 metal albums that'll be turning 30 years old this year. Let me know if you can think of more albums. Let me know your thoughts on the albums that I talked about in this video and all the good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment and a like, subscribe, have a nice day, and take care.